Hello, it is Sunday, the 9th of February 2025, and welcome to Philosophically Speaking, Episode 5. Is there a potential connection in the anointed to those considered neurodivergent? I'm Lisa, and today we touch upon disclosure of the mind, body, soul, and the neurodivergent cosmic connection. Is there a deeper truth within? What is about to be shared is based upon personal experiences. The material mentioned is in no way diagnostic or directional. It is intended purely for reflection and contemplation. It is shared within the hope of inspiring personal insight and fostering open-mindedness towards broader perspectives. Both neurotypical and neurodivergent ways of thinking are valid. Termed as neurodivergent, firstly diagnosed with dyslexia over 30 plus years ago, and with autism within the past 6 years, the journey from childhood to adulthood has brought to light the hidden strengths and uncharted potential of neurodivergence, challenging conventional thinking, transcending societal labels, and potentially bridging realms of creativity, consciousness, and cosmic connection. The term neurodiverse describes the natural difference in how some people's brains work, whose brains process speech, language, communication, and physical information differently from what is considered neurotypical, supported by genetic and historical research. Some may argue that these same traits may be caused by childhood immunizations, which is fine for your journey of thought. I am of the knowledge that my lineage have a clear baseline. Ironically, reading is not my strongest point. Writing thoughts and creating material flows well, at least from my perspective. The information presented is based upon personal experiences, and there are maybe references that could go over your head, but however play an integral part. Some say autism is an umbrella term initially coined by Swiss psychiatrist Eugen Berloy in early 1900s. Over time, this definition, diagnosis, and pathology have evolved. Though these conditions may be relatively a new phenomenon in the realm of Western medicine, there is likely much more to this than meets the eye. I am confident that some elements attributed to neurodivergence may serve as a deeper connection to the cosmos, an anchoring bond with strong evidential pre-incarnate aspect. From verbal, observational, and experiential evidence, it's clear that this subject holds deeper, longer truths within certain circles and cultures. In recent history, terms like autism have been met with varying responses and thought processes from both an observer's and recipient's experiences. Common responses have included disability, there's no such thing, apathy, too old, you don't look like, slow, and others, often accompanied by facial expressions. Now, comparatively speaking, based upon such reactions, It seems evident that there are those within society whose understanding of these basics seems lacking. Then there are the supportive ones. Of those of us who may not fit the obvious or preconceived ideas of what neurodivergence should present like, these assumptions can lead to unnecessary burdens, incidents, and responsibilities. Navigating a society based on such misconceptions can be exhausting and often results in an unfulfilling experience. If someone assumes that neurodivergent individuals are mentally challenged based solely on their own limited understanding, it might also be worth questioning said individuals' logic and intelligence. The same can even be said among neurodivergent individuals. The mechanisms and abilities of neurodivergent then extends throughout the entire system, influencing the body and potentially serving a larger purpose beyond what is commonly presented. For some, good part of being neurodivergent be tied into the structure of a starseed. Perhaps one day very soon this connection may be revealed. Now let's explore the mind. Reflecting on early childhood, what stood out most were brief moments of connection with neighborhood kids and babysitting. Then, on the other hand, behind the scenes, psychological and physiological offense. Despite this, one thing remained constant, an inner force of great amplitude which acted as a powerful protector. And what do I mean by this? The visuals, sensations, and or experiences could sometimes seem distant. To clarify, these offensive events were not the cause of this discernment because I had experienced this phenomenon before any such offensive events took place. Dependent on the situation, the intensity of this force either heightened or reduced. Nonetheless, I still felt the hurts. Now I realize that some aspects may not seem immediately relevant, but they are connected. So my use of the term abilities might sound unusual, but I hope the reference becomes clearer. The best way to explain these abilities is by touching upon foundational experiences. From a very young age, often feeling as though I had not fully inhabited my physical body, resulted in my experience of existence feeling foreign. This pretty much remains the same, just with a fuller hard drive. Deemed a quiet, shy preschooler with minimal interactions, one thing that stood out was the cravings and ingestion of sand as well as freezer ice, as it seemed to quench a thirst, providing satiation as well as relieving my system, a condition I later found out in life known as pica. In terms of my mind, at times I would experience a heightened magnetism, an energized feeling that sharpened my hearing, focused my vision, and heightened the surrounding atmosphere, as well as some phobias, particularly of cracks in the pavement and arachnophobia. There were other elements that stood out. As children, our baths were as shallow as a puddle, which became a habit. And whenever we were washing in a sink, I'd run the tap and brush my teeth and so forth. Looking back, there was the question of whether my parent had observed something which may have happened to influence the choice to not fill the tub. So in my early teen, on one occasion, I'd filled the sink with water and began to wash my face. After finishing, I pulled out the plug, but just as I was about to move away, I became caught up. Suddenly my head felt as though it was expanding into the water, an intensity that built up into a strong magnetic connection, directly immersing me into the draining whirlpool. The roar of the water filled my head with such intensity that I freaked out, and at which point I could not catch my breath. From then on in, I did not fill the sink nor take a bath, only having showers at every opportunity. If ever taken a bath, it was only a puddle. The key element here was that the accumulated surge I felt at these times almost felt like my mind and head had expanded beyond not only in size but also in magnetism, connecting me to whatever was playing out. It was only in later life that I found out that some of these experiences may be related to past life connections. Also, in later life, there was an increased awareness of why emotions or connections with energies or frequencies not of my own were felt or connected to at times, which I now know may relate to the structure referred to as empathic. Another significant detail in these early years was my inability to tolerate certain foods, especially dairy, which caused severe physical reactions, including stress and discomfort. These effects weren't limited to the digestive system, but also impacted my nervous system, my temperament, energy, and overall well-being, a continued aspect. There was also a fascination with yellow JCB loaders and dump trucks, which ties into this later experience with a flight simulator where I unexpectedly flew and landed an aircraft, even to the surprise of the event attendant, which was a first and a last. I'm not good with VR sets or similar. So this is a subject which may be revisited as it connects with abilities not fully understood at that time. There was never an interest in the typical girly toys or similar things. So to cut a long story short, as time passed, the mind and abilities evolved, fluctuating between heightened, subdued, or intense states. These shifts often occurred in stressful or uncomfortable situations, physical occurrences, and accidents, leading to another aspect I'll touch upon later. This also raised the question of whether my cosmic connection could be the reason behind some of these strengths and abilities, along with the sense of not quite fitting into my body. One may also question who or what was or is overseeing and monitoring the construct of said existence. And if any, what is the agenda? Given these experiences, I only can conclude that this cosmic connection has been truly a saving grace for me. Despite the challenges happening around me, I always felt safe and a sense of protection. Another benefit experienced is the mind's ability to handle complex concepts and develop personalized systems of observation and learning. On the more covert side of neurodivergence, there have historically been concerted efforts to suppress or control those who possess certain connections or abilities. In certain cases, this has even extended to silencing of those identified. These actions may have been carried out by both positive and negative actions, whether for a benefit or harm, often accompanied by lifelong surveillance, monitoring, or even protection. Now, the physical manifestation in the body is another matter. Apart from the usual hormonal aspects of growth and transitioning into early adulthood, the journey branches off in many directions, too numerous to detail here, so I'll focus on the essentials. Tolerance for pain, the cold in external environments, and strength were things not fully considered until I became more conscious in later life. It became apparent that what was possessed was not typical. For example, even such a silly thing as hands shaking, to my unawareness, turned into a juice squeezing venture as the faces would grimace behind the pleasantries. There were also times when I bounced back from blunt force trauma. At around 12, at a school friend's complex, playing outside, I jumped over a bollard wearing a skirt, which caught, causing me to pivot like a pendulum and smack my face directly into the ground, hitting my mouth. I got up, and though things were slightly blurry, I don't recall feeling much pain, even in the days that followed. Another factor which will be revisited later is how the food I consumed affected my overall physical and energetic aspects, as well as how hard the, the, the surface of my hands would become, something I've always noticed in others. Natural growth phases from childhood to adulthood got tied into this heightened energetic force, which in turn sent my libido off the charts and then some. I mention this not only as an awareness but as a cautionary point. While some may see it as a fun side effect, it's truly a serious issue, especially for those too young to understand. Unfortunately, there are those both knowingly and unknowingly who will take advantage. Part of this cautionary aspect involves being aware of hyper-displayed behavior and engaging in activity to one's own detriment. These energies are not limited to these aspects. Even from at a very young age, some experiences included mental overstimulation or mental acumen, energy manipulation, whether conscious or unconscious, issues with interacting with machines, equipment, and technology, from computers to checkout tills, metal objects, vehicles, and even other people. The flip side, extended time on computers computers or using VR headsets can make me very ill. Certain sound frequencies resonate powerfully within my head, creating a hum or disruption, almost like a glitch. Some frequencies make me sick, while others elevate, complement, or create a symbiotic feeling or connection. As mentioned earlier, another central aspect of having a body that can hold so much energy is the attention it draws from factions that are aware of or have knowledge about these incarnations, abilities, and therefore cosmic connection. This ties back to the information discussed in previous episodes. Depending on your perspective, another facet touches upon individuals incarnating from previous lives, possibly bringing with them memories, maturity, and sometimes a presence that is far beyond what would be considered normal. You may recognize the saying, they've been born before, which I definitely agree with. As discussed in episode 3, when it comes to nurturing a neurodivergent with such an extensive range of possibilities, knowing where to begin can be challenging, but knowing what I have experienced and learned about myself along with the observations is, firstly, there will more than likely be more than one family member under this umbrella term, and secondly, approach each individual as their own little micro world. In addition, communication, empathy, openness, and patience are essential. Leaving preconceived ideas and judgments behind will be advantageous. Active listening, pacing with the individual, and potentially getting to know them again may be a beneficial process. This will also depend on their age, along with their age versus cosmic age. The common thread is being present, supportive, and listening. Environment also plays a factor. I didn't have access to this kind of support or network growing up. No slight to my parents, as they had their own challenges, but from personal situations, I can now share this with you. Another aspect is strength, which has its pros and cons. I am fortunate to be able to muster up such strength, whether exercising or just carrying heavy items. But this strength doesn't only apply to these basics. For instance, there are times, as witnessed and documented, when people exhibit superhuman strength during accidents or emergencies, for instance, lifting a car or equipment that would otherwise be impossible. You may see this as a fluke, a miracle, an angelic intervention, or just luck, but this same form of strength can be part of the natural makeup for some neurodivergent individuals. Of course, this varies and fluctuates depending on circumstances. Even I have been surprised at how some children have demonstrated such strength. Have you ever wondered why some neurodivergent individuals seem to naturally possess such a strength within them? Could it be said that there is so much more to what is termed as neurodivergent and the structure behind this existence? Now, Disclosure would make this segment a quick resolve, but as it stands, we will touch upon some of the intricacies around the cosmic connection and neurodivergence. I am defining the cosmic connection as the original source of all existence across space and time phenomena, which may be known or referred to as God, a force, spiritual essence, or other terms. As previously mentioned, in my younger years, I predominantly was withdrawn and seen as shy, to name a few. I also felt distant within my body, and though I would experience, observe, and sporadically interact, I always felt this difference within. Now, having experienced many types of phenomena over the years, I have become aware that being semi-incarnated, where one's life force is divided between the physical realm on Earth and the cosmic realm, may be a necessary prerequisite for some neurodivergent individuals. This state could enable or signify their ability to exist and function between both planes. This may also contribute to physical characteristics that don't necessarily align with conventional earthly attributes and attitudes. Some individuals may exhibit a range of the following, such as fluctuating moods, acute knowledge and awareness, hyperactivity, hyperfocus, distance, sensory overload, cravings, neediness, mimicking, hypersocial tendencies, or the opposite. Others may show signs of unhappiness, a desire to return home, depression, non-social behavior, persistent illness, mood swings, intolerances, introversion, or feeling overwhelmed, among other things. These behaviors can be triggered by various factors or may simply reflect the individual's natural baseline. For example, some individuals may appear nonverbal but yet may actually have the capacity of speech. If there is no medical reasoning preventing a particular neurodivergent from speaking, there may be an alternative explanation, one that could take time to uncover. While this is a topic for another time, in my experience, factors such as the learning environment, who they are placed with to learn communication, structural or sensory influences, and the people around them can all play a role in why someone may choose not to speak. As mentioned earlier, feeling foreign and distant within my body from inception can reveal potentials as well as the needs of the individual. These indications and parameters may remain to be stagnant or even problematic until an approach tweaked to said individual allows them to establish and to be able to flourish within a context suited to their needs and abilities, whilst others may already know themselves and just require to be heard, space, or freedom to safely express. As for myself, though often in the company of others, I've always been more of a solitary person, feeling the comfort of something I couldn't quite identify at the time. It would rise as a sense of peace, purity, and resolve, even when it didn't always feel like it. This energy ebbs and flows, and in moments of anguish, pain, or joy, no matter how intense or prolonged, it always settles back into equilibrium. Even as it fluctuates, it never drops below a certain level. It almost feels like being cradled in the palm of a cosmic hand. The further away I am from the cosmic source, the deeper and more integrated my experiences here on Earth becomes. When drawn closer to the cosmic source, peace, purity, and an ultimate sense of resolve occurs. Another way to describe it is like being tethered to something greater, remotely observing what I am watching, additionally watching over me through binoculars, flowing in and out and actioning what is required with this connection to Earth. In closing thoughts, with such a plethora of free flowing information out there, it is intriguing at how many times people repeat the same old patterns. For instance, when a child is seen interacting with something which no other observes, it can be seen in different ways depending upon the situation, but usually is acceptable. The same can be said for those who are either elder or near death. Now, other than where someone is in a situation that is for a particular outcome, whether it's a spiritual group channeling or past life regression, or those who may have a serious mental health condition, if an adult is seen interacting with something other than what others do not observe, then it becomes something else. This obviously varies and is unique to each individual, and at times can be quite distressing for anyone. The point here is that initially, when observed by the not too long gone occupiers and modern medicinal practitioners, some of these observations were relegated to the form of madness without any further insight, and from their limited knowledge and understanding of life and life experiences. There are those who are well aware of the nature of such attributes, specifically those who understand traditions, knowledge, and more passed down from centuries of those who were and remain to be enlightened, knowledgeable, and much more within the understanding of the vastness and capabilities of our existence. I have previously used the term hijack pertaining to particular situations in previous episodes, and the same can be said for the subjects mentioned here. There has been many instances where teachings, knowledge, materials have been coveted and or hijacked, not only for suppression but manipulation and control, to name a few. But on the other hand, would you really want to know more than what we do already, especially given the current state of the world? Such capabilities have even been alluded to in various movies, documentaries, and documented events, as you may have noticed, such as the highly publicized abilities of the Shaolin sect, among others. Additionally, much of what has historically transpired concerning those who naturally possess or may potentially develop such abilities has likely been monitored. As mentioned in episode 3, the sealed, the anointed, and the condemned, is there a potential connection in the anointed to those considered neurodivergent? Could it be that there's more to play with the seeded neurodivergent when it comes to consciousness and abilities and capabilities? Are these individuals seeded for a specific purpose and period? And if so, will this be revealed in the context of disclosure? Thank you for joining me on this journey. This is just the beginning. Keep reflecting, keep questioning, and stay curious. Until next time, thank you.